So I pinned the slide deck in the chat, and I'm going to jump right into sharing my screen.
Awesome.
And we will jump right in. So the way I've set this up as well is I've put all of so I created two different slide decks, one for folks who make the live session and one for folks who can't make it and want to kind of go through each of the different steps themselves in the independent slide deck. They're all contained in the same slide deck, so you'll be able to see them, all of the slides for the 3-session series. So today we are really going to jump into the Google Apps Script and playing around and deconstructing the Apps Script, and then using Gemini to really dig in for deeper understanding. It's really all about the Apps Script today, which I love. And Gemini will really help you if you don't have a lot of experience with JavaScript, actually deconstructing a script that's already there. And then in session 3, we're actually going to kind of put everything together, but then also utilize Gemini to help us build new scripts. So we're going to ask it to help us build some of the things that you talked about doing in your own district. So today is really about jumping into those scripts. So just a quick check-in. Welcome back to everyone. What do you think you want to dig into in terms of the Apps Script today, and figuring out how you might want to use that yourself in your own organization? So just click on the little chat icon all the way over to the right in the Google Meet, and just post an idea that you want to use it. So I'm really interested in, and I'll post it myself. So just go ahead and chat some ideas about what you might want to do. I'll give you a few seconds to think about it yourself, and then post it in. So Diane talked about being able to edit and the script that, or some of the work that we've done with RyLink already. And then Kyle talked about automating responses to users after they complete a Google form. One of the things that I've really thought about too, Kyle, in districts is, I know we did a lot of work with risk assessments with our students, and those things became like Google documents, and there wasn't a lot of security behind them. So actually using Google Forms to build something, push it into a spreadsheet, and then create the document, and then use e-signature for the superintendent to sign, the principal of the building to sign, but also building security behind it. So I love that idea of kind of using automating responses to users after they complete a Google form. And it could be as, generic as a form that's created, or something really specific that has a lot of security behind it as well, and is protected from people accessing information about a risk assessment other than who needs to see it.
Awesome.
All right. Anyone want to share out some thoughts? All right, let's jump right in then. All right, so the big picture right today is that we're going to jump into the three main functions here. And they're really built on this idea of having a mail merge, and that mail merge is just a form that we created, right? So it accesses data from the spreadsheet, the merge data sheet. We have to configure the template IDs and the folder IDs. So we're going to do that next together. So we're going to configure the template ID and folder ID. It loops through the data in the array. So an array is just all the rows in a spreadsheet. And then it creates a new Google Doc from the template file. So it pulls data that we've assigned using the headers right into the Google Doc template. And it replaces all of the placeholders, those curly braces, with the data that is found in the spreadsheet. And then once it does that, it saves a document link for that document and an email sent status, and it changes the status from null to no. So we'll kind of go through that in a little bit. And then the next step of that is it creates the PDF. So it identifies if there's a document link from the Google Doc. It checks for an empty PDF column. It converts the Google Doc to a PDF and saves it in the specified folder using the Google ID that we're going to make sure is in there in a few minutes. And then it adds .pdf to the document name. So the document name is PD infrastructure series or something like that. And it adds the person's name. So Monty would go in, and then it'll add .pdf when it becomes a PDF. And then finally, once we've done all of those things, we check for a PDF link and an email address. And if the answer is yes to those things, and email sent is not yes, it'll open up the mail app in Gmail, and it will actually send an email and update the email sent from a no to a yes. So really, that's what we're going to jump into today. And so the big picture is really just looking deeper at each of the different scripts today. So there are three resources that I've kind of added here that will help us out. The first one is this Gemini explanation Google script document. So basically, I took the script and I said, hey, explain this script to an audience of folks who really don't have a lot of AppScript knowledge or experience. And so it's an explanation for beginners, and it just goes through the entire script and just gives you information about it, right? So it says that the open function is a special command that automatically runs every time someone opens the Google Sheet. And that's this function right here, right? So it's got the start of the function, and here's the end of the function, and it goes through and just does these things here. So you have an opportunity to kind of get an explanation, and then I've also commented out along the way, just so it gives a little bit of a little bit more information here as well. So there's the document for the Gemini explanation. There's the print directions here for the process that you're going to go through to actually go in, access the Google Apps script from the spreadsheet, locate the mail merge function in here, change out the source code here and the folder ID Google code, and do the same for the PDF. So this is the step-by-step process for that information. And then these are the main functions in the document. And then lastly, there's also a place that everyone has access to where the actual scripts are. So this is the script that we're using. And the reason why I put the script in there is if you blow up something in your script and it becomes unusable, you can just copy this script and paste it back into your own script. So it just gives you an opportunity to go in there and copy the entire script and paste everything in. You can also add scripts in here. So you can add a blank script, and once you add that blank script, I need to change sorry, I don't have access to it there. Once you create a blank script, you can post anything that you've done in your script where you've added the folder IDs and all of that. You can make a copy of it here and just call it original copy of script. And that way you'll have an opportunity to make changes without blowing things up, because I often will end up blowing up a script and it won't work properly because I've made so many changes to it. So I always want to be able to kind of get back to the very beginning. All right, so those are the 3 documents that you'll have access to kind of use as resources in the work that we're doing today. Any questions about any of that? All right, so here are the main scripts, or the main functions in each of the scripts. So this is the function on open script, and what's important to know about the function syntax here is it usually starts with a lowercase letter and uses an uppercase letter in the next word. So on open would be 2 words if we were human beings and reading it. But in scripting language, it's on open, all one word with a capital O. And you'll notice that I actually made a mistake in the create PDFs portion here, because I didn't just create a capital P and then put lowercase dfs for create PDFs. And I noticed it and I just kept it because it wasn't worth going through all my script to make that simple change. But we're going to look at the mail merge, create PDFs, and email PDFs function today. All right, so I am going to jump in and look at my app script and connect the source ID variable and the folder ID variables and make those changes to that. So we're going to really just take a quick peek at my spreadsheet. And what I've done is I've just used white text for everyone's name here. So when you filled out all of your information, it got dropped into the form data spreadsheet, and then I pulled it into the merge data spreadsheet here. And so you can open up your script from the extension menu. So I'm going to click on extensions and drag to app script. And when I do that, it's going to let me know that I'm signed in as Jay Monty at practicaleducationalpathways.com. So that's the account that I want to be in to be able to make changes and save them to this script. So this is the open function right here. And you'll notice that in all of the functions, the thing that I love about the script editor is it puts colors in places. So it lets me know that anything that's a function is going to be in blue here. And then this is the name of the function on open. And then there's an open and close parentheses, and you'll see that in every function. And sometimes there's a method inside that parentheses that does something. Sometimes it's blank. So this is just saying, hey, on open, run this function, and it starts here. And when I clicked on the curly brace here, it automatically highlighted this curly brace to let me know that's the end of the function. So this function goes from line 1 to line 8. And it's basically telling me, hey, use the spreadsheet app, do this information. So the thing that you're going to do next is you need to work on changing the source doc ID information in here and the folder ID information here in the mail merge function. And then the only other place where we're storing data is in the create PDFs function, and that's right here. So this is the create PDFs function here. And whoops, sorry, I hit the little down caret and it closed the function. Basically, that's something that you can use too to tell where a function starts and ends. But this is the create PDFs function, and what you'll notice in here is that there is a constant variable here as well with the folder ID. So CONST just stands for the words constant variable. Variable was the original way that JavaScript used to let you know that you had a variable, and now it's just called a constant variable. Just means that it's used constantly, and so you can't have a constant called source doc ID here with this Google ID in it, and then you reuse source doc ID. You could create another one called source doc ID 2 and then use another source document ID. So this is referring to the information that I have in my drive. And I'm going to go right into it now. And it's referring to the template drive. So this is the document that is the form letter, and it has all of the placeholder values here with the curly braces, and we discussed that last week. So this is the ID that I need to replace, and it starts after the D/ and before the edit, the /edit. So all of that information in there is the information that I've just copied and needs to go here. So this is the source ID document, and then there's a folder ID. So if I go back here, whoops, back here, here's where all of the Google Docs are saved. So if I double click that, this is the ID for the Google Docs. So that needs to be copied, and I need to paste that in the folder IDs, because this is where all of the documents that get created as a copy get saved to there. And then finally, you'll need to go into the PDF document folder that you made last week and find the ID for that, and you're going to place that in the create PDFs folder ID. So that's really what you're going to work on next. So you're going to go into a so there's only a few of us in here, so I think we can probably all stay right here. I don't think we have 10 people. Maybe I'll put us in two different breakout rooms just so you can kind of talk to each other. So this slide and this slide just go over exactly what I just said. So what questions do you have before I throw you into a breakout room?
How can we test it? Is there a run feature?
There is. So if you're in the script, Justin, once you're in the script, see how it has this execution log here? This button right here that says execution log.
Yes.
You can actually then click here, and this is showing me all of the different
functions.
The different functions that I have, right? So if I want to just deal with the mail merge function, I can actually come in here, and what this is going to do is this is just going to run everything in the mail merge function here. So it's going to take this, and once I click run, it's going to give me the actual, for every line in my sheet, it's going to tell me that it started it, and it says, so in the first line here, boom, I'm skipping it because you already have a document. And it does that for all of them. And in fact, if I go back in and I delete this link here, and I go back into this here, and I rerun it again, what it's going to do is now it should say that it completed that for the first one. And the mail merge function takes a little bit of time. So it might actually, it might take a few seconds or a minute to run that. And so now if I go back up, this is letting me know that it created that document here.
Okay, so we should put a few dummy submissions into our
You can absolutely do that. Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I saw that somebody had a question, right? Whoops. So let me so jump right in, whoever had a question. So this says, can this info be sent to a Google Doc rather than a PDF? It absolutely does. So right, if I go into my folder here, so Tally from North Attleboro asked the question. If I jump into here and I go into my PDF document here, so this is the ones that I just created, right? So if I double click on this, this is the live Google Doc. So this document is now a Google Doc, and I can do a lot of things with this. Like I could go in and say, you know what, I want Jim to e-sign this document, and I can actually add an e-signature here, and the document will automatically create an e-signature option, get sent to jimmontetest@gmail.com, ask them to go through the signature process. And then when that's done, it'll create a locked PDF version of this. So there's a lot we can do with this. So you don't have to, run each of, like I could just always, oops, let me jump into the right one here. I could just say, you know what, I want to, instead of emailing the PDF, I want to email the actual Google Doc to the person. So I would find my email function all the way at the end and say, all right, I'm going to create a new function here, and I'm going to call this email Google Docs, and then do what I need to in terms of emailing that Google Doc. So again, that's something that we can really play around with probably tomorrow, the next time we meet, where we're really like changing the code completely. All right, so I am going to stop presenting, and I am going to open up the breakout rooms, and let's see. And I'm going to just do 2 breakout rooms here and shuffle everyone. Let's see. So it's really a small group. I'll actually just throw you into those breakout rooms right now. And so really what we're going to do is you're going to just go in, configure your IDs, and really I'm just going to give you like 4 to 6 minutes to do that. And then we're going to jump into using Gemini to really dig into the data or the script, and then have you use Gemini to really make sense and deconstruct that all. So we've configured the Google IDs, right? And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just jump into one or two of the functions and kind of show you side by side what's really going on as well. And I'm going to deconstruct it a little bit myself, and then I'm going to jump into Gemini and deconstruct it using Gemini. And I'll just show you that briefly, and then I'm going to give you a ton of time to really play on your own to kind of dig into the scripts yourself. So I'll actually first show you the function on open, and that's this function right here. And I've already alluded to it a few times or mentioned it. So I am going to, here's my script. I'll go up to the very top of it. I'm going to close the execution log here. And I'll talk about a couple of things with this first script, and then I'll also talk a little bit about where you see logger.log in some of the areas. So if I go into my spreadsheet here, so this is the function on open. So this basically runs every time this spreadsheet opens, because the spreadsheet is connected through the Google Apps script. So there's a script embedded within the spreadsheet here. It automatically, when you open the spreadsheet, it will do the following. And it says, hey, use the spreadsheet app. So it's telling me that it's using the spreadsheet app, and get the UI. So get the menu functions here. And when you do that, I want you to create menu is a method that the script wants to run. And it says create a menu that says PD infrastructure mail merge. And that's what this is right here, right? And I can reword that any way I want to. So I could say, you know what, I want that just to say PD infrastructure functions. And I save that. So in Google Apps Script, you have to save your changes by clicking the save icon. And notice it did not change here. In fact, it won't change until I refresh or reload the page. So I'm going to reload the page. It actually closed my script. So I'm going to open up my script again. And it's going to open that script up, and I'm just going to grab it and push it over here now. Oops. Just so it's side by side. So now you can see that that changed the name here. So PD infrastructure shows up, run workshop mail merge, and that is this item here. And what this says is put the words run workshop mail merge here, and then actually run the mail merge function. So it's going to look to the document to run the function mail merge. So one of the things that I love to do here is I love taking a whole function and going into Gemini and say, hey, I have this script, explain it to me as if I have zero scripting knowledge. And I'll just paste the script right into it. And it's going to know the first part is my question and the second part is my script. And it's going to give me an explanation. And it tells me step by step what it's doing here. So it really will explain it to me just in regular words. And then I could say, explain it again as if I have moderate understanding of JavaScript. And it's going to go through and re-explain the exact the issue. So it's just going to tell me that on open in JavaScript is called a simple trigger, right? So it's going to actually let you know some of the language that scripters use or programmers use when they're using JavaScript, right? And then it's going to go in and tell me the methods that it's calling. And it will let me know that spreadsheet app.getUI with parentheses is pulling up a global spreadsheet app method, and it returns the UI object. So it's just giving me more knowledge about how the script runs, and also what it truly means, in as if I was a programmer, right? And so this is one of the ways when I was learning how to, and I keep saying I'm not a programmer, but I've taken some programming courses in JavaScript, and this really helped solidify some of my understanding of what's going on. So it really lets you kind of understand what's going on. So Diane was talking about the headers. I can actually highlight each of my headers here in this part of the replacement variable, right? And I could grab the last curly brace here, and I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to say, please explain the following code. I'm just going to paste that in, and it's going to go through and really give me kind of a step-by-step breakdown of what's going on with the code. But it's still using my previous prompt of give it to me if I have some moderate programming. You can then say, re-explain that as if I knew nothing, right? And then see how there's this little pull down here? This is letting me know what its thinking was regarding the question that I asked. So it really just lets me even see its thinking so that I can kind of dig into it a little bit more as well. And you can, and that shows up with this, whatever's in this line here. And then the answer shows up afterwards as well. So I think that this is a great way for you to kind of dump in your code and start asking questions of it. So if I had an error message in my execution log, right, and the execution log will tell you what's going on. So if I tell this to run the execution log for the on open, it's just going to tell me that it started and it completed, because I do not have any logger.log requests. So see this right here. This lets me know that when it starts running the function here, at some point it's going to say starting the mail merge process. And we've seen that before, right? Because when if I run the mail merge and I click run here, it's going to tell me that the execution started and then it ran the mail merge. And you'll also see in here, when I'm done with this part, this is the logger log where it says document created for row. And then if I don't know what this is, I can just this information here and copy it and say explain and it's going to really tell me that, hey, it's going to start in the first row, row 0, and keep going. And it's going to look for a document that's created with a URL in it. And that's what it says. And then it's going to let me understand that, remember I talked about the backticks earlier? That's where I see that in the document where it's looking for the temporal literals with the backtick. So it's not looking for a single quote, it's looking for the backticks, and it's letting me know that. So it's just a way for me to kind of dig in deeper. So let me stop presenting. And really, what I think will make the most sense for everyone is to really just kind of take your script, and this is kind of what I just went over. Just take your script. You can use any chat bot that you want to. So if you're more comfortable with chat GPT, use it. If you're more comfortable with Gemini, use it. I prefer Gemini just because I'm a Google domain or a Google workspace, and it allows me to do that. And so what you're going to do, you're just going to really take some time to prompt Gemini to tell you what's going on in your script. And if you get an error message, paste your entire script in there and say, hey, I just got this error message. What does that mean? And why am I getting it? And Gemini will tell you, oh, you have this error. I think you need to make this change. Or it'll tell you, I think you might be getting the error because of you're missing information in the spreadsheet. And I have also gone in, right? And while I am doing this work, gone in and said, hey, these are my column headers. And I dump my column headers right into Gemini so it knows exactly what I'm doing. Because in the past, I've had document link with a space here. And when I look in my replacement document here, I didn't have a space here. So I wanted to, I know that document link doesn't have a space because I've run into issues before where I had a space here and didn't have a space here. So when I dump all of that information into Gemini, it allows it to do a little better job at analyzing what my issues might be. All right, so let me stop presenting again. So we can just stay right here and you can just start playing around with Gemini in your scripts. What questions do you have before you take? I'm really going to give you it's 12:48 right now, so we can go all the way until 1:15. So a good 25-30 minutes to play around. Questions? Pull everyone back together. So if you're still here, why don't you come on camera, unmute yourself, and just give us some thoughts about what you ran into, what worked well regarding using that as a kind of self-guiding tool. And feel free to just jump in.
I liked this. I also was able to ask Gemini how to run, if I wanted to run this on form submission. It gave me some strategies to add a trigger. Because I
Cool.
think because I think the way this is configured, you actually have to go to the spreadsheet and manually click the PD infrastructure mail merge.
Absolutely, because I didn't want to, and the reason why I did that too is because I wanted to add the individual session information for each session. Like if here, I'll just share my screen just for a second, just so I can make it more concrete. So I love that idea. When I really wanted it, if I really wanted just to automatically trigger immediately and run it, but I wanted to make sure that I could adjust the session information. And this information, I actually just copied into the first row and then pasted it down every time someone added information. So typically when someone filled out the form, this would be blank, and I actually added that in
Okay.
because I wanted that. I didn't want it to do it automatically just in case I had errors in my Google Doc as well. So I actually wanted to trigger it, but there are lots of times when I don't want to trigger it, and where I don't want to run the function manually, I want it to do it automatically.
Oh yeah, and the person who would be in charge of maybe the professional development day might have to reshuffle some sessions based on enrollment and attendance to balance out the day. So they could actually come in here and sort of load balance the sessions and then sort of run it at the end.
And in fact, Justin, what's really interesting, if you wanted to, you could actually add a Google script to your forms as well and say, hey, once a session, so right now, this is just one session, like one series of sessions, right? I could actually add to the form, hey, when session 1 reaches 25 respondents, shut it off. Don't take any more values from that. So you can actually put a limit on that using a Google Apps script. And I would go right into Gemini and say, hey, I want to, I have this form. Here's the form. And I want it to, once it reaches 25 yes respondents, I want it to say the session is full. And when someone tries to sign up for it, it'll say the session's full. So, there's a lot that you can do with the scripting language all across the varying tools that you're using. So you could have a script that's running just for the Google form, and then one that's running as well for the spreadsheet values. Very interesting. Who else wants to share a little bit of what they kind of did with using some of the AI tools to help them get a deeper understanding? Did you folks find value in going through that process? I see a nod from Kyle and Diane. Okay, cool. All right. So I don't want to hold you any longer. It's really what I wanted to jump into today. What I would appreciate before you leave is if you can jump into the next slide on your own. And it's the wrap up next steps feedback survey. I actually use the feedback to kind of guide what I'm doing next with you. So if you just click on this or use the QR code, you're going to put in session 2 guided for today's session. And then if you're doing any of it independently, you can just choose the independent value there. So if you could fill out that information, that would be great. I'd really appreciate it. It helps me kind of figure out things like pacing and things like that. So, I appreciate any feedback that I can get. And so the next session for session 3 is really going to be making sure the scripts all function properly, but then start thinking about how you want to make changes to it. And we'll actually be incorporating Gemini and Notebook LM into kind of analyzing what we've built and then using that to help decide what our next steps are. And so it's just a process that I go through myself and I found really useful in helping me even start asking questions like, is the script that I created, how efficient is it? Like, what can I do to make it faster if I needed to? Or I'm running into an error message when I'm running the script because it's cycling through a lot of data and it's creating a bottleneck. How do I slow it down here? And it'll give me some good guidance as to how to slow it down. All right. I appreciate everyone's time and attention again. I hope there was value in what we did today, and hopefully I'll see you next week.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank
Have
you
a good
so
one.
much.
All right. Have a good one.